Reddit. What have you paid a lot of money for and then immediately realized it was a terrible mistake decision to buy it? Story 1 Xbox 360 HD DVD player. Man, a suit of armor. I mean, it's awesome and wearable, but why? Honestly, I'm like a 7-year-old with a credit card. Story 2 Some of my college textbooks. Bought them in advance and showed up to class, and we rarely used them throughout the semester. It's funny because they were required. Story 3 I bought a pretty nice replica of a Jedi robe for $121.99 on Amazon while I was drunk. The next morning, I remembered what I had done and felt like an idiot. When it arrived, I lost all regret. That thing is awesome. Story 4 I bought a car stereo that turned out to be a brick in a car stereo box from some guys on the street. I kept the brick in my car for 5 years hoping I would see those guys again, but mostly as a reminder to not be such an idiot. Story 5 signed and framed 2008 Charlotte Bobcats team picture. Edit, it was $330. It was the start of the season, and I had brought a couple friends with my season tickets. They had an auction in the arena. A few beers later, basically, I'm an idiot. Story 6 I spent over $500 on a bracelet for my wife as a Christmas present, despite the fact that she never really wears jewelry and isn't into fancy, expensive stuff like that. I felt really dumb. She has only worn it once in the 6 years since. Story 7 A white long-sleeve dress shirt that has to be worn under a suit with a tie because it's very transparent. I have to dress up for work. Business casual. 1. I rarely wear a suit jacket. 2. I have 7 dress shirts I rotate through. About once a month I try on this dress shirt, only to be shot down as I can see right through the sleeves. I dye a little bit on the inside as it goes back on the rack. I did this morning. That shirt, my soul is blown out from that stupid shirt. TLDR, don't buy see-through dress clothes. Edit, as some people have pointed out, I'm a guy. I apologize for the confusion. I tried a white shirt underneath, and the fabric is very transparent. I'm thinking it was made thin for a suit to help with heat and being warm. I'll try the suggestion made by Free Actopus, the most logical solution for this shirt. Thanks, guys. A Mac with a lower processing power than most smartphones. Story 8 I had about $500 from my high school graduation party and thought it would be a good idea to purchase one of those crotch rocket motorcycles. You know, the ones that look like they belong in a circus and are about 50 cc's or so. I couldn't even use the thing without having the police called on me, or looking like an worst money I ever spent. Story 9 bought a plane ticket to Colorado to visit my girlfriend. Found out that day she was cheating on me. Immediate regret. Luckily, I was able to change the flight to Vegas instead. Story 10 don't really have a specific, but generally, clothing, they look so good in stores, and when I try it on in the change room, I say to myself that I look pretty good, but as soon as I go home and try it on later, it looks like WTF. Story 11 college loan. I wish I had taken more time to excel in school to get a scholarship into a college, or at least had most of my bill paid off. We'll be in debt forever with Sally Mae. Story 12 my extensive t-shirt collection. I see a design on one of several one-day-only t-shirt sites and think, oh well, I can't possibly not have that. Then buy it. Then right after I think, WTF, am I doing him eating ramen for lunch all week? And I just spent $10 to $15 on a t-shirt. Then do it again 2 days later. Now, I have a million shirts, most of which shrunk in the wash. I got bigger and have stupid broad shoulders, so don't fit anymore. And I could have saved hundreds of dollars if I'd just gone thrifting a bit more and not had the need to wear pop culture mashups and awesome designs on my shirts. Edit, is it possible to change a shirt once it has shrunk to make it fit again? I miss some of those shirts so bad. Story 13 my fiancé visa to enter the US and get married. I realized I had paid for everything, shouldered almost all of the work, had pushed, prodded, screamed, and cried to get it all done. $3,000 wasted, and my ex who promised to pay me back half got a scot-free. Story 14 Arctic's laser and the lightsaber attachment. Total waste of money. But I managed to stop traffic outside my house with it at night, just by swinging it around like a madman. So, I guess it wasn't a complete waste, plus I can commit felonies just by pointing it in the sky. Story 15 a 1,200 pair of eyeglasses. They were titanium, super light, and fit my face really well, plus super stylish and look good on me. However, I was never able to shake the buyer's remorse after purchasing them. Story 16 a leather corset. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love corsets, but I lost my job shortly after that, and I sort of regretted buying it at the time. I still look like a bat at the Renaissance Fair, but still. Story 17 ankle-length leather trench coat. Tailored. It seemed so cool when I was talking to the tailor. It seemed so cool when I wore it out the first time. Then I saw myself reflected in a store window and cringed. Story 18 direct by membership. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Am not set up financially to do the amount of remodeling it would take to actually get value out of this huge investment. $3,000 on sale. I feel like an idiot every time I look at the credit card balance. And from what the internet tells me, there is no way to get out of it. Story 19, I bought a lung exercise device called Power Lung. After using it for about 10 days, I had severe problem with breathing, went to the ER, and they couldn't figure out anything. I still have severe pain and cannot move around much, cannot hang out with my friends, cannot attend college. It has been 1 year and 2 months since I was injured. I spent $50 to ruin my life. Story 20, does anyone remember poppers? As in the tracksuit bottoms with buttons all up the side. Think I got mine the week they became unpopular and shabby. 30 is a lot of money for a 10-year-old. And explaining to my mom why I wasn't wearing the awesome trousers I'd saved for months was not fun for little me. Story 21, when I was 17, I bought a 2001 Saab 9-3 with the hopes that it would last me as a commuter car in college. Basically, the car was just a nightmare of small problems. I got a flat tire, a $5 sensor broke that would turn off my car at random, the radio broke, the power steering fluid reservoir leaked, the alignment was so bad I could make a right turn without touching the wheel, the brakes were awful, etc. It wasn't even like it was a cool car. It looked like it was from the 80s and was an ugly green color. I recently sold it when the turbo broke on it and the car started chugging out thick exhaust. Good riddance. Story 22, one of those sleep number mattresses. Thousands on a mattress that felt like I was sleeping on the floor, a floor that would make loud, crinkling noises with every mood I made. Having on it sounded like I was rolling on bubble wrap. God forbid, I turn over in my sleep. Story 23, after hanging out on Rebuild app for a couple months, I thought I was all good to go, and it would be totally easy. I procced to completely up the CPU and MOBO when I set the chip in and then dropped the graphics card on the floor. None of them ended up working FML. I just had a big, sinking feeling in my gut and felt embarrassed because everyone talked about how easy it is, and I realized I'm just a clumsy who doesn't deserve anything nice. Story 24, laptop. Every time I purchase a new laptop, I begin to regret my decision within a couple months. I just want a laptop that I can be happy with for the next 2 or 3 years. Story 25, when I was 17, I fell for one of those pay us $600 to be a model. Give us your account numbers, so we can charge you another $20 a month to be on our online booking database types of scams. I was so excited to tell my mom I was going to be a model that I couldn't understand why her eyes were getting so big or why her jaw was dropping. Story 26, Mac. My friend said that it had no crashes and you could play any PC game on it. Total bullshit. I found out that you needed to run Windows on your Mac just to play the PC game. I am not spending another $200 on 8 GB RAM. Just TO, get Windows running. Sorry for the little rant. Max, just me off. Am trading on my 2500 Mac for a 1300 computer. That's how much Max. Sorry, Mac fanboys. I know you like your computers, and I do not have a problem with that. It's just that it's not my type of computer. Story 27, Kirby Vacuum. 2500. Took 3 years to pay off. I regretted it immediately and didn't find out that I had 3 days to get out of the contract until the 5th day. Story 28, any Adobe product ever. Especially Dreamweaver, that Craigslist motorcycle that quit working the next day. He rigged it up, keys for TF2 crates. Story 29, I bought coupons for my work to get a discount at several different things, theme parks, restaurants, attractions, etc. I feel pretty dumb for paying quite a large sum to buy myself a discount. None of the coupons have been used. Story 30, it has occurred to me that I spent about 10 on 2 thin circles of meat, some cheese sauce, and 2 pickles if you count the time that I clocked out from work in order to get a bunless Big Mac. It's just a very weird feeling. Life is strange. Story 31, my friend spent his unemployment money on a stripper. He thought the chick liked him and that he was really close to getting laid. I don't think he regrets it, though. Story 32, I bought a brand new Xbox 360 a couple years back. Upon turning it on for the very first time, I got the ROD after spending $75 to ship it overseas because apparently at the time MS Japan couldn't fix a US model. It was replaced by a very obviously refurbished unit. This unit was extremely noisy and died about a year later. UMS. You and your shitty hardware. You for selling me brand new defective hardware and replacing it with old, slightly less defective hardware. You're right in your greedy asses. Can you tell I'm still a little upset? I just bought a 6300 IP Champion. I made a big mistake. Story 33, 1400 mountain bike for wife who promised to ride all the time. Now, I have a 3 years old awesome bike with maybe 8 miles on it. My bike was 500 and has about 3,500 miles on it, most of them by myself. Story 34, I bought a T-Mobile Sidekick Slide, paid $400 for it, ended up giving it to my little brother and buying another phone, didn't even use the internet on it. Story 35, GameStop used to have this system where you could pawn 2 games resulting in pre-ordering an unreleased game. When Just Cause 2 was about to be released, I did this. Spent about $70 on 2 games to pawn one day and planned to go back the next day and leave with Just Cause 2 pre-ordered. Sadly, When I get to the cash register, there's apparently a list of games that you're not allowed to pawn. So there I stood with 2 games times shift army of 2 I didn't even want, lost 8-0, and just cause 2 had to be bought for an additional 80 on the release date. Not a good day. Story 36, I was with a guy for a year. In that time, he burned through most of my savings and refused to seriously look for a job. I was stuck cleaning while he played video games and still complained that I would leave messes behind when he cleans. He insisted that he'd do the cooking even though I'm a picky eater and gets offended when I would scrape off a cake on spices. He would break things and have temper tantrums. The only reason I was with him so long was because he made me feel responsible for him, like I had to take care of him. I ended up paying his brother to take him off my hands. Story 37, in my single days, I made decent money and had no trouble buying whatever gadgets my heart desired. Not 1 week after I got married, my wife and I were discussing finances. Turns out I'm not going to be able to buy anything I want anymore. I figured that's fine. I've had my fun. Cut to just a few hours later, I went to Best Buy and spent $150 on a pair of headphones. I took them to the cashier and he looked at me and said, "Wow, your wife let you buy these?" I told him, of course, I'm my own man. We'll buy them if I want. I know you see where this is going. I came back to the car with my new headphones, then suddenly remembered the conversation my wife and I had about money. When she asked how much they cost, I lied and said 50. She looked at the receipt, and before I even had the car in drive, she told me, 150, you said 50, you lied, and now you're going to do the walk of shame? Go right up to the cashier you bought these from and return them. I walked back in, and Best Buy has a separate returns area, so at least I got to keep some of my dignity until the cashier that rang me up saw me and I saw him, and he grinned. Story 38, I bought an 80 hoodie in Banff, Alberta, where everything is expensive as the hoodie wasn't even good quality. Worst $80 I'd ever spent. I know now never to buy things there. Story 39, I've got a custom-built RC helicopter. I paid almost $5,000 for it. It's so expensive, and if I crash and break anything on it, I do not be able to afford the repairs. Whoops. Story 40, I bought 2 Pearl Jam tickets of €200 as a birthday present from the website TicketLocate.com. I found out almost immediately after that it's kind of a scam website. Sometimes they refund money, but most of the time they don't. I never got the tickets, and I never got my money back. You can only reach them via email. So if you want to email bomb them, be my guest. They took my money while I could really use it. I'm just a poor student. I hate those bastards. Story 41, my college textbooks. I spent close to $1,000 when I could have researched a little more and saved about 500 of them. I hated myself at the time. Edit well, I got too excited and made this comment before reading the other comments like this one. I will keep the comment like a man. So you may downvote at will, assuming anyone ever finds it buried somewhere in the other 4,000 comments. Haha. A house. It only gets more expensive the longer you own it. Story 42, 350 bar tab last night. I met a girl I'm interested in, and her girlfriend's at a high-end rooftop bar. Girl asked me to go back to her place. So I asked the waitress for the bill, but she takes forever to come back. So in my alcohol and lust-fueled impatience, I walked over to the bar and settled the bill myself. I literally regretted it the moment I lifted my pen off the receipt. Been beating myself up about it all day. Story 43, in the last month, I've spent $150 on a 5-string bass guitar. I don't play bass guitar. I also spent $80 on underwater camera. Why, don't ask, I'm stupid. Story 44, an AMD Alton FX 55 CPU. It was the best single-core CPU at the time, and I paid $800 for it. Just the CPU. Mind you, this was just after AMD had released their first dual-core CPUs. But I didn't think I needed an extra core. I still thought clock speed was the most important factor. And yet, in the back of my little mind, I suspected I was so wrong about this. A few months later, I bought my first dual-core CPU for $300 and confirmed my suspicions. Story 45, Tempur-Pedic Simplicity Mattress. They make different types, and listening to the sales guy who said, you don't need the full-on 5,000 version unless you weigh like 300 pounds. Well, I only weigh 130 pounds, so I went for the smaller, thinner one that wasn't nearly as expensive. It felt really comfortable in the store. Sleeping on it at home really isn't very great, though, so I'm going to have to invest in a new bed at some point. Sad I wasted all that money. Story 46, I bought a Lenny parakeet last summer. Immediately regretted it within a week after realizing she has a bum foot and might end up having health problems now. Over a year later, I think she's actually the best purchase I've ever made. She brightens up my day, even if she looks like a moron when she waddles around. Plus, she makes clicking and beeping noises on command, which is great given that her name is Curie. There's radiation in the area. Click, 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 wee. Story 47, an iPad 2. I had it for a couple of weeks and realized there was absolutely nothing I was using it for that I wasn't already using my netbook and phone to do. Story 48, the video game Two Worlds. It was so terrible, fat me friend, and I decided to pop in Oblivion instead and torture the adoring fan like it was his fault. Story 49, Hellgate, London. Founders Edition also bought a DDR Extreme machine and couldn't fit it down the staircase to my basement where I wanted it. Had to leave it in the garage. Something came loose during transport, and I had to spend an additional $500 on repairs. Recently sold it to a friend. Story 50, paid $1,000 for a laptop almost 5 years ago. Used it for a year, then the screen died right after the warranty expired. It sat around and used for about a year and a half. And then my girlfriend decided to surprise me with getting the screen fixed, which cost about $500. 3 months later, it just stopped turning on, and now it just sits there and used again. I keep thinking about getting a new laptop, but every time I get close, I just remember how annoyed that one was and get turned off from doing it. Story 51, my last house, a fixer-upper at the top end of our ability to afford anything. Not a good choice, stressful from day one. Although it was an excellent opportunity to learn new skills, I'm pretty good at building brick walkways, painting walls, and not bad at destroying old decks. As it turns out, happier now, though. Story 52, once, when hungover still drunk, I collared by a white van man. They had a bunch of speakers that wasn't on our delivery, so we need to get rid of them before going back to the warehouse. I looked at the specs on the box knowing about audio equipment. I could tell the specs were good, saw the price tag for $1,000 on the box, and thought why not. I agreed $100 for it. As long as they gave me a lift to work, I was running late. Went to the cash machine, they brought it to my house and set it down in my living room, and then gave me a lift to work. Actually seemed like nice guys as well. Turns out it was 1,000 Korean dollars, I think, which equated to around 100. The specs were obviously fake, and I never actually bothered to get the thing to work. It dawned on me as I arrived at work and did some research and saw plenty on Gumtree and eBay. Met a few people who got caught out similarly previously, and they did the same thing. On the upside, that same month, there was an error with the payment of my rent, and I only paid half of what I should have done that month. The landlord said it showed as paid, but I still had the money. Luckily for me, everything balanced out, but the one thing that nobody could answer, including myself, was, why did I only buy one? What use would have been on its own? I'm sure glad I did only buy one. But that was the most retarded part, and that is the worst purchase I have ever made, the world's most expensive lampstand. Story 53, I was really drunk once and decided to purchase around 100 worth of riot points on League of Legends for all the wicked awesome skins. Never playing the game drunk again. Story 54, I like to bid against people on eBay. After a few drinks, I feel the very noble desire to help some random stranger get a few more bucks for their whatever. As a result, I have a box full of stuff that I should bury in the backyard. Story 55, I bought a Kirby vacuum when I was high on painkillers from a bad back injury. I let the guys vacuum my house for 5 hours, signed a contract that said I would pay $88 a month for 5 years. Yes, 5 years. Gave them my old vacuum, which was actually my mom's that I was borrowing, and sent them on their way. When I woke up and actually realized that what I thought I had dreamed was real, I canceled the contract after yelling at a few people. They refused to give my mom's vacuum back. Ninja edit, because grammar. Story 56, I bought a lighter from Cartier. It was $700. I knew it was a terrible decision at the time, but I wanted it anyway. It's still pretty cool, but it won't light for in the wind.